Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 428, and today we're doing battle with pirates. And so it counts as pirates, right? It's a deck that has Misfortune and Noxus in it. That means it has to be pirates. You know, there's no Gangplanks, no Twisted Fates anymore, but I still feel pretty decent calling this one pirates. And so, where this deck has come from is we did just come out of the Siren Song meta. Every deck in the format was doing its absolute hardest to pack both Siren Song and Reaver's Row. And I feel like Siren Song was the one that got all of the attention, and that was a little bit undue, a little bit undeserved, if you will, in the sense that I felt like Reaver's Row was the card that was actually doing all of the work. And so it was nice getting all of those bonus stats, building up these boards to where you Siren Song on turn 3 and then play a Fizz or whatever, but I felt like the real work was being done by Reaver's Row, especially in the sense that it gives fearsome to all of the units. And so if you played 2 copies of Siren Song, put 5 dudes on the board, those dudes, while they're going to win the combats, they're still getting blocked by Conchologist and Reggie and Samira and all of the small units of the world. But when you're able to come out and drop the Reaver's Row, this is where you were actually able to come in and attack for some serious damage. And so I felt like it's pretty worthwhile to come back and kind of revisit the Reaver's Row because I think that that's the card that was actually quite special. The other thing I'm really kind of interested in this format is really kind of limiting the big spells that we're playing. As we did come out of this Siren Song meta, it really either hyped up the belief in the strength of cards like Avenging Vestaya and Rite of Negation and the likes of Deny. They've always been good cards, but I don't think people just realized how good they were until Siren Song was such a relevant piece of the meta. But regardless of the reason for them showing up, they're still here. They're still sticking around. They aren't going around anywhere. And so I don't really feel super excited about playing decks that are trying to maximize cards like the Siren Song. We tried it in here again. We're not playing it, but we tried it. But more commonly things like Champion Strength, as to where you really need to resolve a big expensive spell. And if your opponent's packing a bunch of Avenging Vestayas, that can be pretty challenging to do. And so the card that really came into focus for me was Reveler's Feast. This was one of the cards that, once it moved from burst to focus, it really kind of fell off the map. But I think it has a really kind of interesting shot in a deck like this, given that the way our play patterns are all going to kind of manifest themselves, or we're just going to try and completely flood the board. We'll spew away all of the units that we can. We have a lot of card draw to refill, and then we're just going to try and spew more units onto the board. And so even if we are in a space to where our opponent's able to block 2 or 3 of our units, we should still hopefully be able to chunk in 4 or 6 or 8 damage off of one of these big Reveler's Feasts. And so those are the 2 kind of concepts really trying to tie everything together. Misfortune is what I call Siren Song Part 2 in this deck. She does pretty much everything that we were hoping to get out of Siren Song in terms of at least dealing a little bit more damage. And then that gives us that little bit more of early game prowess that we just don't get out of the Siren Song anymore. And so, very powerful, very interesting stuff. That's what we're going to be doing battle with today. Let's go ahead and jump on in. And so, we're calling it Pirates. It's the Pirates deck, right? I've tried quite a few iterations of this. I've tried it with Illaoi, which I wasn't super happy with. I just felt like you were being too slow, trying to mess with the tentacles. I tried Dragon Prince Orzo, Dragon Prince Quiznos, whatever that guy's name was. Get all of the foods out there, right? It's the Orzo from Quiznos, if you will. But it was interesting in the sense that I really liked having all of the card draw in this deck, and I liked what he was presenting in that sense. But excuse me, at the end of the day, I kind of felt like you were running into way too many like bad play patterns to where, you have a 1 drop on turn 1, but you don't want to play it because you have your Orzo, and so you get into turn 2 with 2 spell mana, and then once you have that spell mana banked up, you kind of roll into turn 3, and then you want to play another 1 drop, and then it's just going to overbank you. And it was just like the situations were too odd. Like maybe I was just not giving enough credit in the sense that overbanking that free mana doesn't feel too bad, but I really kind of had in my head I want to just be playing like Dragon Prince Quiznos and then running into these spots to where to where we were able to cheat out Siren songs. Didn't quite come together, though. Alright, so back into action on this one, though. It's a little unfortunate the opponent has the removal for all of our good cards, but it's not necessarily the end of the world. I'm a little sad that the Tentacle is still on board. That's the one I was really hoping to get cleared out, but we're about to really just pop off with a bunch more units. It wasn't that critical that those units fell. We can Reaver's Row, it'll put a unit down. We have a Shell Shocker Reaver's Row for the follow-up turn. We're going to get pretty close to a full board here with our one drops coming through. But dang, this Tentacle's about to do the work. We're not really getting in front of that guy. We can try to attack. We'll have some 2-power units, but not ideal the way that turn has really presented itself out here. So I feel pretty okay attacking into the Tentacle. Jesus, just had it all. Okay, there's not a ton we could do about this one. This isn't a particularly good matchup, but that was a pretty spectacular way to have this board go. There's just nothing we can do now. We can try and block Swain, but the big problem is he's gonna have 4 attack, and he's gonna overwhelm through all of our 3 health units. And so even if we add in Misfortune or something, we're still just gonna fail. I mean, I guess we could look to add Eye of Nagakaboros. I don't think that does it for us. I think we just have to try, or just hope, I guess, that we hit a big enough unit next turn. None of this feels particularly good. Let's send in the squad. I don't think he blocks anything here. And this is one of these spots where I feel like we probably took too long thinking, right? It's kind of clear that you don't have a trick after we took so much time here, but just not a ton we can really do about it.
Looking for trouble? It found you.
Alright, let's draw some cards, get Misfortune down, see what we can do. I assume our team is just going to get aced here, but might have someone turn up. Nope.
Leave them nothing.
Still kind of close to lethal, though, right? If we can refill out the board fast enough next turn,
Don't get ahead of yourself.
might be able to do something there.
I will break them.
Alright, that happened. We're going to lead off with the Stylish Shot. If we hit any plunder cards within this Double Trouble, we want them to come down with the special things. I think that works, right? If you summon a plunder, I don't remember. We didn't hit, so we don't get to find out, but oh man, we're close to the lethal. We'll have the Eye of Nagakaboros coming in for at least 3 next turn. Have the Flare for an additional point of damage as well. We'll see what we can do, Fam Jam. And Fizz turns up. We're just going to run everybody out. We just have to have something go right. We're like, cool, maybe he'll play the Leviathan, right? we can have some magic happen that way that can potentially give us an edge. I mean, that's not bad, right? He spent 6 mana to, I guess, stop 2 units, but it's close. It's close to the magic. So we're definitely going to look to flip the Fizz in this combat, right? Fizz needs 2 more spells to flip, so we'll play the Stylish Shot. We'll play the Flare that's going to get Fizz to flip, get us in an extra point of damage. We just got to see how close we can get. Looks like we're only going to hit for 4. Maybe he'll do something weird, though, you know? That's all you got to hope and dream for. Yeah, maybe he'll do something weird. You never know. But we'll pick the Stylish Shot back up. That'll get us to almost lethal. We're right there. Okay. I was wondering if we could get away with something here, as to where, you know, if he's going to play a spell in the middle of combat, it's like we just need something to go right. And if he's, you know, going to try and interact with Fizz in the middle of combat and we get everything happening there, I mean, that would have felt pretty good, but, you know, kind of is what it is.
I will break them.
But he didn't get the lethal just yet. We'll add the Reaver's Row. Maybe we'll spike a elusive unit off of this thing or something. Nope. GG. And so while that didn't go spectacularly, that is a not very good match, and B, he had a pretty nutty draw. And I think you can feel, you know, at least a little decent in the sense that if you get hit by a giant Swain AoE after your opponent's just high rolled you and you're still in the game, that's a pretty big deal. That feels pretty good. You know, we were basically an Elixir of Wrath away from finishing that one, and so, you know, I liked what was happening there. So on to the next one, a little bit of Karma Sett. I like hanging on to both Reaver's rows. Don't necessarily want Fizz this early, but maybe we'll keep a start like this, as to where I want some more stuff to do in the early game. You can go double Reaver's rows, but it feels a little scary to me. I'm going to hold on to the Fizz now that we have the Elixir of Wrath. We might be able to protect him a little bit better. We'll see. Probably just going to eat a Mystic Shot here, but that's okay. Ooh. Thanks, friend. That was very nice of you. Very kind. many friendlies from old Vecna here. Aftershock onto Misfortune's A-okay. He's tapped out. Not going to play the Barbed Chain. We'll still just keep this mana banked up. We could have gone for a stylish shot here, but I don't think that 1 point of damage is too important. I think we'll find more of a combo-based turn to where we'll get to pop off with the spells. I think it's probably more important to be keeping this Barbed Chain mana up to potentially draw some cards and spew all those units off. It's a little bit more important to have units now, I think. Deny coming in. Okay. We still got to follow up with the Mirai Warden. I don't want to get too crazy with our smaller units here, right? We're going to have everything grow next turn with this Reaver's Row. But we could still look to, say, get a Mirai Warden into combat or something. Just nopes. Nopes all around. Nopes abound. Fine, dude. Fine. We'll drop the chain. Now, if he has a Mystic Shot or a high note to take down Fizz, I think it's okay at this point. We should be able to refill pretty quickly next turn. But this is the kind of spot where it's like, I wish we just had, a little bit more mana to protect that stuff, protect him with. We got a Feast and a Pirouette. Not what we're looking for. Definitely not ideal hitting the Reveler's Feast in this space. I mean, we ought to just go ahead and block, right? This Bakai Reaper is never going to do anything more. It is nice having the Bakai Reaper on the board in the sense that he can take a Reveler's Feast without dying, but I don't think he's ultimately a super important keep there. What do we got now? More Reveler's Feasts. I mean, we're close to lethal, right? This is, if we Reveler's Feast, it's 4, 5, 6 from Fizz, 7, 8, 9 from Acorn, 10 with the Stylish Shot, 16 if we really want to go all in. It's probably just a little too greedy. Just a little too greedy. Rip Acorn. I don't think you're going to survive it, my dude. I don't think you're going to make it, friend. The spells are coming in. Okay. We're close. We're close. Get our Stylish Shot back. See what we can. See if we can't get those big damages in on the next one. See, up to 5 coins. It's a pretty scary number. I'll give it that. Really need a Eye of Nagakaboros here. I was worried about Sett coming down this round. He's pretty apparent at this point. It's all on your shoulders, Acorn. You gotta get all the damages in. It's all on you, bro.
Nobody's tougher than me.
Wonder if he just passes. If he sees us out here hanging out with like 1,000,000 mana, he just wants to pass the turn. Nope. It's gonna flip this Sett. Oh boy. Pretty sure this one's just done for. We can hit like weird chains of spells to where we might be able to pop off next turn, but with us being at it's a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with Stylish Shot, 13 with Fizz. I guess it's close. It's not outside the realm of reason. Oh boy. Blockling's pretty good. He just needs to pick up a 2-cost spell and he can pop off.
Beat losers. I saw you looking at me.
Our stuff's top notch.
Alright, we'll give that one up. Whew, so close. Gotta give him that chance to just not attack though, right? It's so juicy for the for the Karma Sett deck to see us sitting here with all of that mana built up and being like, not letting you do that, friend. I'm just gonna pass. They never do it when you want them to, man. That's the way it goes. That was tough. I was feeling good about that deny hitting on the double trouble. It seemed like that was going to be our small space to hit an advantage, and then things just didn't come together from there. We were just a little bit short on units, didn't pick up any card draw to punch through. So here, I'll take a harder mulligan. It's not important to have Fizz in the early game. We want to find Reaver's Rose. We want to find Samira's, just a little bit more power. So Shell Shocker is a reasonable open. Does the same damage as Crimson Pigeon, but gives us that banked spell mana for our Samira. Miss you getting your permanent +1/+1s. That was a sad day for Crimson Pigeon, losing out on his abilities.
Take the shot or lose the chance.
See if his Samira comes in now. Nope. That's a kind of dangerous spot to drop ours if he's going to try and get us, but he didn't. He has that chance to pass and then play Samira and then attack after the pass. So interesting. I think we're just looking to maximize here.
There's plenty of killing left.
We can't get this thing out of the way. I know you can do the 1 damage to Shadow Assassin with this, but I was gonna say I don't think this spell's gonna resolve. I didn't really want to get Fizz involved in this combat, so this still feels pretty good. Big attack punching in, hitting them for 7. Samira real close to flipping. We can just kind of flip her at will next turn if we want, just playing Fizz and Flare. We'll see if we plan on taking that action. It's a little heavy in terms of the losing the card quality, but I think this is fine. Especially coming into next turn, being able to open with Eye of Nagakaboros to give the Fizz elusive. Got this Elixir of Wrath ready to pop in as well. Reaver's Row is something to give us a little bit of pause. Like, I'm not entirely convinced that we can win the game on this attack, and so having the high power from it come through on the next turn is kind of nice, but I think this open is just too good. Just the opportunity to get him with Elixir of Wrath is so nice. He needs to block our bigger plays with Master Yi as well, and so
Come now, is that all?
I think it's good. As he like puts his Master Yi forward and starts making blocks and stuff, I was curious if we needed to be a little more apparent of our ordering of our attackers, but it's not bad. Not a bad whirling death. But that did take quite a bit of effort there.
A quiet spirit. Voodoo style.
Alright, no blocks, friend. Master Yi gets that flip. It's scary time now, man. He's gonna be taking those free attacks coming at us. Let's see what we can do. We'll double trouble. We'll play Misfortune. Let's see if we can't close this game out on the next attack. And wow, what a just incredibly shitty collection of units. The Wings in the Wave and an Adaptron coming in.
I'm one of the good guys, but not
It's, I guess, not like the literal worst double trouble, given that you can hit some of those ephemeral units, but that was a pretty bad double trouble. Let's see what we can do. Should we have known better than this? It's like there's only a handful of spells in our deck that he can actually counterspell with this thing, right? It just shows one card. We should not have put the we should not have put that forth.
Tide's coming in. Bet.
Alright, let's send the squad. We need to at least like present a lethal. I don't care too much about losing Misfortune here. Even if he comes at us with another like Whirling Death or something, none of those are that big of a deal. What I really want to get out of this combat is I want to deal the damage with Fizz so that we can add in both Reaver's Row and Barbed Chain this turn. But sitting around hanging out with Misfortune isn't really going to unlock anything. I mean, maybe should have attacked with our, well, there's no reason to attack with the Wings in the Wave, but maybe we missed a point with the Adaptron. Just, I don't like attacking with the Adaptron because it gives him the free block with the All-Seeing Oracle, and then it doesn't get, you know, we may not have a full board for this Reaver's Row 2 turns from now. So there's a lot of potential for failure there. Master Yi's ready to come in and immediately strike the Wings in the Wave. just get that shitty unit out of here, huh? But yeah, we should have known better than to pirouette. That was the only real problem card here. Now, new question is, do we want to Elixir of Wrath down this Master Yi? I think I'm on board with this. May not be worthwhile to be giving up this point of damage, but this is going to really clear out his board, limiting him to just the 2 units now. He shouldn't be able to protect him with, like, Twin Disciplines isn't even in the game anymore, right? Who plays who plays all of these Ionia cards? Who fucking knows if Twin Disciplines is in the game? Didn't they switch Twin Disciplines back to being 3 attack, 3 health, but it's only an Eternal? Is that what happened to it? I don't know. I don't play these dumb cards, you know. If Gringley Duo's not involved, then what's really the point? Alright, he shouldn't be able to counterspell our Chum the Waters with this stupid All-Seeing Oracle, and so we'll see what plays out with that. We will need to kind of watch ourselves. If you do have to have space on your board to Chum the Waters, and the Wings in the Wave is still just out here hanging out, taking up space, doing fuck all. And oh boy, the absolute worst possible cards to hit off our Barbed Chain. The Fizz that we just can't cast in a Stylish shot. I mean, we can block the All-Seeing Oracle with Fizz. I have a hard time imagining opponent ever attacks this turn. So I don't feel like that's really gonna be a thing. Is Longtooth? Let's see, 4 cost? Alright. I didn't know if Longtooth was one of these weirdo cards that actually has a 1 cost attached to him. Okay. Well, if it comes down to it, we can just hook this all-seeing Oracle out of combat with our wings in the wave, right? We got some bad options we can do here. I don't know. I don't know if I like doing this. Like, given how bad our spells are, I'm really curious. Excuse me, if we shouldn't have just passed. Right, just let us open attack next turn. He's going to take that humongous overbank. We'll still add it back in. We're going to lose that on the unit, but we don't lose that on the countdown. Sure. Look at that. He has the means to kill our Fizz, and we can't play the one in our hand. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not super worried about that. Ooh, there we go. So we can Reveler's Feast away the wings in the wave. Now we can Eye of Nagakaboros a unit onto the board. So here comes the attack, Fam Jam.
Their light still burns.
Look at those burst speed shenanigans. Burst you for 21, bro. Feels good. Feels good. GG. Alright, next battle. So man, a few days ago went on a brewery tour. If you are familiar with the Boulevard Brewery, they're housed out of Kansas City. If you enjoy the beer, Tank 7 is probably the one you've heard of. Typically, Boulevard Wheat is the really popular one around here, but that's more of kind of like your go-to. I always really loved Boulevard being around in the sense that here with this against Vayne Gwen, I really just want like Reaver's Rose, but I'm tempted to hang on to Misfortune. I think we just get rid of everything and look for Reaver's Row and Samira. But no, it's like if you're going to go to dinner at your local Applebee's or something, wherever you go and get the tasty treats, and where you may normally go out and drink a Bud Light or something, you say, nah, not today, man. I'm living it up. I'm gonna get me a fancy beer. That's typically what you do. It's like if you have your choice between like Blue Moon or picking a Boulevard Wheat, you just take the Boulevard Wheat every time. And it's so nice that that's just in like literally every single restaurant around town. But like outside of that, the big one's going to be Tank 7. That's what's going to be the really popular one outside of the Kansas City space. Highly recommend it. And then if you like the seltzers, the quirks are fantastic. I think the quirks are very well done. I really enjoy all of those. But that's Boulevard. We went and enjoyed their brewery tour, and the thing that really kind of caught my attention with it is it's so easy to kind of make the pretentious sounds, if you will, in terms of food pairings. Like this tour is like a beer and food pairing, and I've never really put much like thought or feeling into the matter. I was always like, oh, you sound like a dum-dum whenever you start making those comments and noises. But I was actually quite pleased and surprised with how they did that. It's one of those things to where you like never really think about it. Like I never thought how a food would pair with a beer, and as they like give it to you and you try it and eat it and do the stuff, it's very interesting. It's like I always just kind of envision though the people, you get your like wine glass and twirl it and sniff it and then you gargle it a bit and spit it out. Like that's what I always just envision in terms of saying a food and beer, food and wine tasting. It was delightful that it wasn't it wasn't so pretentious, but I was very pleased with the outcomes there. It was all quite good. Nonetheless, this is a fairly easy open here. We're going to crash in for 8 damage. He shouldn't be able to do anything about it. And then we'll follow up with the Reaver's Row. Then if opponent comes in with a Gwen, we're actually quite pleased with that. She's just so exceptionally slow at this point of the game. that she can come in and hit us for like 10 next turn and we don't really care. Like, we care a little bit if he starts playing more Cataclysms and stuff, but as it stands right now, this Gwen is not a threat. So now we have a choice. Do we want to add Misfortune to the board, or do we want a Barbed Chain? And it's like, this is one of these spots that's really tough for me, because we're going to go into the next turn and then just not have anything to do, right? If we say play Misfortune, we're going to 2-bank into next turn. We'll have 6 mana next turn, but all we can really do is play like more Barbed Chains. And so I don't think she's super important at this point. I'm just going to flare off and drop the chain here. And then, you know, if we pick up an Eye of Nagakaboros next turn, fantastic. I mean, I guess there's even a little bit of argument to play both. To play both Barbed Chains, in the sense that hitting a Reveler's Feast is so strong as well. Fuck it, YOLO. That's how we party, bro. Just say, fuck it, YOLO. So what do we got? We could reasonably pirouette out of this board, but I don't think that's striking me as strong enough. Let's just go ahead and send in the crew.
Let's get to it.
I don't think this is going to be enough, but... Oh, it is enough. Cool. But it's just a scary spot for him to... Like, if we try and pirouette something, he can play a unit, and then if we play another unit, he can play a unit. It's like, we don't really get any further ahead on board. All right, good stuff. But yeah, the Boulevard, it's great. I was thinking as like speaking to the quirks, it was like ridiculous to me, like whenever we were growing up in college, and like beer just tastes awful. It's like you get beer and it sucks, and then everybody tries to pick and choose what, you know, beer clan they're gonna be a part of as to whether or not you're gonna be in Team Bud Light or Team Natty Light or however it's gonna flow. And then if you want to actually drink something that tastes good, then you just start talking a bunch of trash about your friends. And so they'd be like, hey, Bust, I got this real fruity drink. It's got a shitload of liquor in it, but it tastes like Kool-Aid. You say, huh, pussy. That's what... It's not appropriate to say stuff like that anymore, right? You can't refer to people as the P word, but it's what they do. But man, I don't know what happened. How the times changed so hard that it's okay to drink the seltzers, the flavored the flavored fizzy drink things. So good. Whoever made that change, whoever made that thing happen, I really appreciate what they've done for what they've done for the world. All right, reasonable start though. I figure this opponent playing Teemo Jinx Bilgewater is also playing a Reaver's Row deck, and so I didn't want to get like too far ahead on board. This is one of these spots where I'm not entirely certain how I feel like these games should sequence, in the sense that ooh, he said he just discarded a Swindler's Den. You know, it's like you kind of want to build up as much board as you can. So that, oh, he just has another Swindler's Den in hand, doesn't he? But right, as we're about to come and build up to this Reaver's Row, we kind of want to leave our units around, but we just have so many cards in hand at this point, and we're so far away from lethal. I think it's okay to just come in and make these trades. Like, as long as he doesn't have that Swindler's Row, we're super fine. If he has a Jinx, that's kind of suck. It seems like he might have a Jinx here if he's just spewing these cards off. But let's have to see. It's gonna coin Jinx. Oh man! Oh wow! Even the coin is gonna refill into the Death Rocket. That's not bad. That's not a bad usage of your Acorn. Oh sweet, he just doesn't have her. Okay. Good deal. So we did luck a little bit into this Sandsworn Amulet. So as it stands right now, I mean, we have pretty good attacks on this board. We can Amulet up the Fizz. We did mess this up a little bit. We should have played the Stylish Shot first, so that if we needed to burst protect Fizz, we could use the Barbed Chain. But the opponent didn't have a punish for it there. Right, we were making this play 100% of the time to where we were going to play the Stylish Shot and the equipment onto Fizz, so we should have just played the Stylish Shot first, so we had the cheap Barbed Chain if we needed to survive a Mystic Shot or something. Wow. He just has to have the Swindler's Den, right? We were wondering if that was the Swindler's Den, figured out it wasn't a Jinx. Has to just be the Swindler's Den, and you have no time to be playing six mana do-nothings on this board, so I think we're okay. We're looking pretty good here. We could Barbed Chain to just block one of these, but he's not playing a Teemo deck. He's not going to come in and just kill us with that Teemo. So I don't think there's any real reason to do that. Let's just get the full board. See, there's the Den. He's dead. You drop the Den, you dead, bro. You dead. All right, let's get this in here. Ooh, a second Reveler's Feast. We have to kill off a unit for the second one. I don't think that's where we want to be. But let's do this. Let's start with the eye. I don't think we'll end up playing any of this stuff, but it makes our mana work out okay. Now Stylish Shot again. We're gonna deal 3 damage to all Fizz. I guess 2 damage to all Fizz. Opponent says that's it. That's enough. Can't handle any more bust. Can't handle it. GG. It's not the time to play your 6-cost landmark. He didn't have a choice, I'm sure. Whenever he saw that one Den get discarded and then he didn't play Jinx, he had to just have another Den in hand, and that's kind of the problem I ran into with Siren Song in this deck. We could find the spots to play it, but it just didn't feel like it did enough. Like I even kind of started trying to work it into the space to where we're just playing one copy. You know, if it's like one of these turn 7s or something and you really want to get that down, but at the end of the day, it just didn't really feel worth it. All right, so up against Ashe Shadow Isles. We touched on this deck. This might have been like, well, I should say this is like the first deck I wanted to play right when the balance patch came out. And I played a couple of practice games and I was like, nope. I will not be playing this stupid deck is what we immediately said.
No need to make a name for
So now this is kind of interesting. If he's going to come in and quiet us our Samira, do we want to play the Elixir of Wrath? And I think I'm okay with it, so I went ahead and dropped her. We're going to get a lot of value out of her on this next turn. And you know, we're just trading a 1-cost spell for a 1-cost spell, so it's not that big of a deal. And we have the opportunity to really pop off next round if we get to play the Flare and then drop the Jagged Butcher with the bonus stats and then maybe get a good pirouette. That feels very valuable in terms of just keeping the Samira around. We'll see. Got the... I mean, you don't even really have to pirouette. We could just attack. The scary thing with just attacking is if opponent has a like a Brittle Steel. Well, that starts to be a little bit more problematic. Right, let's just clear out this Sentry. We could wait for a better pirouette, but I think it's okay to just go ahead and send. Ooh, perfect draw on the Reaver's row. Now this, I tried to explain this so many times. I feel like a lot of the viewers just didn't really get it. This is so much better than just putting a 1-1 on the board, right? Having access to this big wolf, like this guy is ready to do so much action now. It's such a relevant play, and I know that he didn't get a particularly strong attack right from the start, but having this 4 health blocker, you know, if he has like a harsh winds in the middle of this combat, he can just do some pretty nutso stuff in terms of what he can get out of this Rhinefang pack. Like, if we wanted to hook the pack with Samira, that was going to actually be a fairly intimidating block from him. I think we're safe now. He's not going to deal 2 damage to our units, and so let's stylish shot, send our 2 guys in. He's going to probably block the Butcher or something, but we get the couple points of damage, you get the spell back and stuff. Seems okay. So what do we have to worry about opponent doing here? Like, playing one of those big expensive... Like, does this deck play Eradicate? I think I'll stop. He's up to a shenanigan here, right? Oh, maybe he's not up to a shenanigan. What's Eradicate cost? Does that cost 6 or does that cost 8? Alright, I'll add.
I've never met anyone like you.
Okay, perfect. I was going to say, like, we can get into a realistically bad spot on this next turn to where we don't get a lethal. You know, if he has a harsh winds to prevent 8 damage, we're pretty short of the lethal, but we're much better space now.
The dead don't need riches.
All right, let's send the squad. This is not going to lethal him, though. This is going to be a little short. So I'm a little bit worried about this. Our units kind of suck, right? And so the fearsome does potentially push in a little bit more damage, but it's like if he has a harsh winds, he's probably just never blocking these units anyways. Okay, he just doesn't have it. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oop. Get him with the style. GG. So, all right, let's get ourselves one more game in. We're approaching that hour mark. Usually go for 8. Something happened a little slow today. We'll blame it on all of our opponents. So Bus talking about food pairings, calling people the P word and stuff. He's going to probably get canceled off of that one. It's okay. It's okay. All right, up against Scouts. I imagine this is not going to be a particularly strong match, but we'll see. It's like they're doing a lot of the same things that we're doing in terms of trying to just generate a bunch of board width, but they have a lot of, like, a single inspired light can really pop off the game, and so curious to see how this goes. I think Reaver's Row is probably the big card here. Pirouette's kind of interesting for the next turn.
Nice to meet you. I'm Isla.
I'm curious if we shouldn't be saving Pirouette for, like, turn 5. Like, I don't think this upcoming turn is too scary of a round. But when we get to turn 5 and we look to, say, Pirouette something, deal a damage to something, and then Reveler's Feast,
Never met anyone like
it's a
you.
little bit more intimidating there.
Nice to meet you. I'm Isla.
Don't have any units to protect the pigeon with. That does kind of suck. But I think we need to just clear board.
For the tribe.
Just throw away one of our units on our own. He's going to get like a... This is where it's just going to go bad, right? He's going to 2-for-1 us with the broad wing. Oh! Oh, a chain vest. Just make it even worse. Okay. Okay. I don't know. It's like I just don't see us... Like, we don't have the ways to grow our units, right? So it was a rough spot. And we can't even kill the broad wing. Alright, so we'll just take 8 and lose a unit. Oh boy.
This is our way.
Oh, if he's not gonna, I'll take a point of damage. We got some juicy stuff we can do with these units if they get to survive.
Take the shot or lose the chance.
Let's hang on to Fizz. We'll spend all of our mana next turn, and this also gets us kinda close to being able to, what a disaster. It gets us kinda close to being able to still flip Samira. This hand right here with the double Reveler's Feast is part of the reason why I added in the Misfortunes. Like, she's still good in this style of deck, but you do run into some of these spots to where you want to play the Reveler's Feast, but you don't have a unit that can survive it. It's kind of a bummer. We'll get one more in. I was expecting the game to take a little longer and not have a not have a 2-minute scouts match, but that's a pretty painful matchup. They just we aren't exactly trying to do the same thing, but we have very similar things that we're trying to do, and their combats are just so much stronger than ours. Like, I don't know, if we picked up a Misfortune, we might have been okay, but we didn't hit on any of our high-powered cards, and without them, it's like his plays are just better than our plays. Alright, so final battle for real, up against Elusives. We'll hang on to the Reaver's Row. This is a bit of a disaster mulligan as well, but I think it's the most important things we're going to find here are going to be Samira's and Fizz's, since we need to... that's like our only way to interact with what he's doing. So at least you can double trouble with this banked up spell mana, so it's not a complete loss, but... Very, very apparent to see that you don't want to start with Barbed Chain double Eye of Megagaboros. I don't know what opponent's doing though. Fuck. I mean, it's not a standard opener from this deck for certain. Okay, you can attack around her. Let's lead with a double trouble. See if we just hit a elusive. I don't think we want to block, but we might. It's like our only chance to come in and prevent this damage. We hit the fucking wings in a wave again as well. Learn from the master. Alright, I'm envisioning some things. We should have just opened. The way that we should have taken this turn is I envision that we are going to pirouette a couple of turns from now, but what's going to happen is next turn... Okay, he didn't punish us. I was going to say next turn, we're going to, like, Eye of Nagakaboros, and then we want all of our units to kind of line up nicely with this Reaver's Row. And so we should have just traded away that one unit knowing that we were going to completely fill out our board. And this is okay-ish. Right now we can get the eye on the board, get the bonus stats for it. Might come together. It's only 14. Do we have to worry about getting burnt out next turn? Right, if he comes in for 14, that'll take us to 6. That's like a double blowback, which he doesn't have the mana for. Okay, we'll take it. And a bird. All right, Reaver's Rope. Let's get those stats out here. Oh, not Shell Shocker. Stylish shot. Here we go. Gonna be a damage short. Well, He's gonna have, as it stands with this board, he's gonna have to give up 1 unit to the tentacle.
Must we fight?
You can just Pale Cascade over, but I'm gonna say we get the stylish shot back, but we're not gonna be fast enough to get Samira on the board. I'm gonna say we're damage short. I'm curious if I'm liking it less and less how we were planning on the double Eye of Nagakaboros route, because he's just gonna block that unit. I think we should have probably Sunk Monument, a dumbass card. Okay, I think that, I mean, that game's probably on us. I think we're in a spot to where we're going to make a bunch of big units off of the Reaver's row, and then he's just going to block the 2 biggest ones, right? So as we make the tentacle a 4/4, like that's fine, right? Because then if we come in and make the tentacle a 6/6, he's just going to block it. There's no difference in making that tentacle a 6/6 and a 10/10 or a 20/20. He's always just going to come in and block it. And so the thing that the Samira kind of lets us do is potentially push one of the smaller attackers in for damage, but even more so, the thing that she lets us do is get the 1 damage things, right? And so like we can potentially hook with her, right? If we have enough like higher than 2 power units on board to where opponent forces her out of combat. I think that that's just the way that we should have gone about it. I think that I was kind of envisioning that we were going to get a lot out of that open attack with the tentacle being big. And then again, like, it doesn't matter. You know, that could be a 50-50 tentacle, and he's just going to block it because that's the biggest unit. And so it's one of those spots where we should have just spread out the damage a little bit more. And then we had a lot of ways in hand to actually deal that extra damage, right? We had we drew the stylish shot off of the Eye of Nagakaboros, but we had the pirouette. We would have had the Samira 1 damagey things, and then potentially even had something the next turn that we could have burst out. So I'm not certain if we would have had enough damage, but we basically spent 5 mana on that last turn and just didn't do anything. And so it was a definite bit of a mistake there. But nonetheless, interesting deck. I think that there is something to this. This is one of these decks that kind of strikes me as being like Pirates, in the sense that people don't give it very much respect because it's very easy to look at Pirates and say, oh, look at that. He played on curve. He played a 1-drop into a Mirai Warden, into a Misfortune, into a something, and just completely curved out and annihilated me out of the game. But there's definitely a lot of nuance to the kind of classic-y style Pirates decks that people didn't really give it credit for. You say, oh, it's an aggro deck, and he blew me out some games, and then you don't really catch the remainder of the stuff to where a lot of the magic is really happening. And this strikes me as a deck as to where a lot of that stuff kind of happens. And so I know some of the numbers look odd. I've been very happy with the 2-2-2 split and the champions between Fizz, Samira, and Misfortune. That all feels pretty good. As far as the rest of this stuff, I kind of like Mirai Warden, especially in these games to where we don't have the Reaver's row early, and we're just kind of playing a more natural early game board with aggro deck. But there's some times to where, like in that last game, we had the mana to play more stuff and could have just overwritten it, and it doesn't really feel right. And so maybe we're only do like 2 copies of Mirai Warden, and I'm curious if I like the Reveler's Feast, but I'm not certain if I like 3 copies of it. That's something I'm kind of considering dropping down to 2 of, because drawing 2 copies of it is so bad, and drawing it early is so bad. But outside of that, I'm happy with everything else going on here. Now, the second kind of question you have with this deck is this better than just playing Samira Fizz with the elusives and the Shelleys and the like? And they're 2 very different decks, in my opinion. I know that there's a lot of overlap between the cards they're playing in both. You have some of the plunder units and the Fizz and the Samiras, the Eye of Nagakaboroses, the stylish shots, the pirouettes, but I feel like both of the decks play significantly differently. I don't feel like they're very much the same. I don't think that Fizz, the plunder version of the deck, is capable of any kind of early game aggro start. And so it plays more just kind of like a mid-rangey combo deck that occasionally has a weird Fearsome plus Fizz draw that gets some early damage in. And I don't think it's so much the kind of late game powerhouse, or it's more of a late game powerhouse than a deck like this. But as far as this goes, I'm kind of curious if we couldn't just fit in like a little bit more burn or something. I'm not certain if like a Nox and Fervor would fit, but I'm kind of leaning towards what if we say like cut a Barbed Chain and a Reveler's, either like one of Barbed Chain and Reveler's Feast or Mirai Warden, and start adding in a couple of Nox and Fervors. And I think that might get me in a space to where I'm pretty happy with this. But it's close. I really like what's happening here with this one. Whew, nonetheless, good stuff. Good games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.